Just wanted to take a few moments and talk about a topic that we've learned from our over 4.5 years of battling this disease process. That is the idea of overlapping your providers, having a plan A, plan B, C, and sometimes D. So what we found is that in your initial pursuits after diagnosis, or when you're even seeking diagnosis, or if you're seeking a certain treatment, you have provider A who's going to provide you with antibiotics and recommend NSAIDs and maybe oral steroids according to the JCAP protocol. And the JCAP protocol is something all of you should be familiar with. Please take a moment, Google that up, and look at it, read it over carefully, and be aware of what the best procedure is for treating PANDAS, and lighter cases of autoimmune encephalitis. So anyways, provider A, you finally got a doctor appointment. You're so grateful because you're scared, you're freaked out, your kid's gone to a mess, you're not sure what to do, and you find Dr. A, we'll say. And Dr. A says, well, yeah, we're willing to try a round of antibiotics. So they do a 10-day round is all they're willing to do. And that has good effects, but you go back and they're like, no, I'm not going to prescribe anymore. I can't help you beyond here. And then you start over. And then you start looking, you start calling, you try and find another doctor somewhere, somebody. But in the meantime, you've lost those 10 days of planning time because, you know what I'm saying? You're busy enjoying the fruits of your labor where you're at instead of still working for more. Because some doctor will take you through steps 1, 2, 3, and 4, but they won't do 5, 6, 7, and 8. Well, what happens if steps 1, 2, 3, or 4 don't do it for your kid, because every kid is different and you really don't know when you begin how far you're going to have to take this treatment. So it's important to have somebody else that you can reference that hopefully will take you to the next stage. Either you know they will, but they're more difficult to get into. Maybe it takes 6 weeks to make an appointment to get in. We'll make the appointment at the outset so that when you're with Doc A, if the treatment's offered by Doc A, take care of your issue and you're done, great. Call up Doc B and cancel. No problem. No skin off your nose. If Doc A doesn't come through for you, though, or doesn't offer the treatment you need to get all the way to the end, then you have Doc B, and you're already 2 weeks down the road now. Now it's only 4 weeks till you get to Doc B, if it's a 6-week appointment. You know what I mean? And in some cases, you need to carry that out to Plan C, Doc C, or sometimes Doc D. So it's important that you have that overlap because time really is critical when treating these kids, and there is no care coordinator except for you. You are the care coordinator. No one is going to come in and say, hi, I'm a social worker and I advocate for these kids, and let me take care of this for you and solve this problem. So it really does, unfortunately, fall in the parent's lap. Next point, don't get locked down on an emotional level because you feel like you finally found a doctor who's willing to listen to you and offer some treatment, and you stop looking for other resources because you don't want to think about it. Let's face it, this is stressful. This is upending in your life oftentimes. Sometimes not. I mean, every kid is different. They present differently. Some are violent and completely out of control, and it's terrifying. I mean, I've heard horrifying stories. Other kids, it's intrusive tics and OCD and maybe anxiety that waxes and wanes and comes and goes, but they still go to football practice and they're still going to school, and it's a different experience than I know personally. So my experience is tainted by only dealing with our son, really. I've talked to a lot of other parents, of course, and take into account what their experience is, but ultimately, emotionally, I only know mine. And so everyone's going to be unique. But if you find a provider who's willing to offer some care for your kid and some treatments, don't get locked down and stop thinking about making Plan B or Plan C. You have to be proactive. I would always anticipate, respectfully, that any care provider you have is going to conk out on you and dismiss you, and you'll have to go to Plan B. The lesson that we learned rather the hard way is that early on in our journey, as our son was still descending and suffering terribly, we're probably 4 months in now, 5 months in, something like that. We found an immunologist by really the grace of God. And we got in with him, and he was willing to evaluate our kid, and he did, and he took it very seriously, and he offered a treatment protocol that he was comfortable with. It was not the treatment protocol that is listed in the JCAP. It is not the treatment protocol that we figured he would probably need. But it was something. And when you have nothing, having something is everything. So we went with him. And we were grateful for that. And I'm still grateful for it. Because what he did offer probably saved his life. But it wasn't enough to heal him. It wasn't the really big guns. And we talked to him about it. We asked him about it. And he wouldn't do it. He wanted to do this other thing. And we did that. And it wasn't working good enough. And we appealed to him. And he changed it up a little bit. Went to a different medication. Still not the big guns we wanted. And the fact is, he just wasn't comfortable going to plasmapheresis and rituximab. He wasn't comfortable doing it, and he wasn't going to do it. We eventually got him on a consultation with a leading neurologist in the nation for a phone consultation through a lot of footwork. And we did that phone consult 3 ways. And when the consulting physician finished, our immunologist said, I absolutely agree with everything you said. We're going to go that direction, no problem. So he was on board with plasmapheresis and rituximab because that is what we always felt and what our consulting doctor felt was the direction Parker should go. We advocated for Parker that way. He went on vacation, and when he came back, he was supposed to start plasmapheresis. He sent a message when he was on vacation to his office to let us know that he would no longer be our physician or take care of us in any way. We're empty-handed. We had nothing. We're kind of at a reset at that point. So when that happened, because Natalie was smart, she had been on a call wait list to get in with another doc on a cancel list. And she called to find out if they had any cancellations, and they had, and we got in rather quickly with Plan B. And Plan B wound up coordinating with our Plan C, and between B and C, we finally got the treatment that we needed through a whole bunch of logistics. It was a hell of a lot of work. We had to find doctors who were willing to think, who were willing to risk, and willing to reach to find a solution that would help Parker, because they realized that letting him suffer was not an acceptable solution. So don't be afraid to take a doc who's willing to help, even if it's a protocol that's a little different than what you wish it was. And as you're respectfully and kindly accepting that help, don't be shy about booking in Plan B, C, and D. You can always call back later and say, because it's going to take weeks to get in there, sometimes months. It might be 6 months to get into a specialist. And if that's the case, book it. And you can call them a month out and go, I got that appointment coming up. Things are going really well with my child. I think I'm going to go ahead and cancel. It's no skin off your nose. They don't charge anything. But be respectful of their time. Don't call them the day before. You have an appointment set for 6 months out, and 5 months and 28 days later, you call them up and go, no thanks. Don't do that, okay? Number one rule in dealing with doctors is always be respectful. Always be respectful. Never make an enemy, okay? Always be smart about what you're talking about. Know the ins and outs of this disease process. State them very clearly. Be rational. Try and control your emotions. It is incredibly difficult, more so for me than my wife. She's better at this than I am because she talks big game. and she's better at that. But be rational as you can. Get a hold of yourself, and if you start to lose it, apologize and own what you own. Okay? It's very scary for you. It's not scary for them. What is scary for them is having a scary you in front of them, and that doesn't make your child any more appealing to take on as a client, so or as a patient. So keep that in mind. Okay? Never make an enemy. Never leave on a sour note with a doc. Don't tell them off and tell them they're a piece of crap and you're sick of what they don't know. And nope, don't do it. You get a reputation. Doctors talk to doctors, and you won't find help anywhere. You shut your own self out. So, just a word of encouragement to think about that when you're seeking out your child's restoration and care, to be proactive that way. All right. God bless you all. Thanks.